uh, on the seventh page of the downloads of the Maimer copies. We're holding on page Tes. I'm sorry, page Yud Aleph, I believe. So, yeah, so, we're holding page Yud Aleph, um, line 20. And the Rebbe is now going to conclude the idea that he was speaking about throughout the Maimer over here, about that there is both the avodah of Mulmaila Lamata and Halicha Mulmata Lamaila. That's Torah versus davening. Davening is going from below to above, and the Torah is from above to below. And we spoke about each one of them. There's above to below and below to above. Torah, the nigla the Torah, which is called Eitz Hadas Torah. It's something that has to do with the world. It's part of the world. It's engaging with the world. That's why it's called Eitz Hadas Torah. Whereas the idea of Pnimius HaTorah is something above, beyond the world. So that's the idea of Mamayla Lamata. Tefillah has in it the avodah with the Eser Koich Sanefesh, hinted in Cholavavcha, V'chol Nafshecha. That is, again, that's the Sulam of Arza. It's a ladder standing on the ground going upwards. But on the other hand, the B'chol Ma'idecha, the level that's with all your might, the level of Mesiras Nefesh, the idea of going totally beyond ourselves, that's the level of Mamayla Lamata. And even though the true idea of B'chol Ma'idecha, we said, has to do with Malachim Nasai de Acherim, it says that in the times of Mashiach, it will be that foreigners, non-Jews will arise and they will take care of your sheep. So we should be able to be completely devoted to Hashem. And that is the idea of Oisin Ritzon Makim. They make up a new will, they draw down from the level of Soiv Kalalmin, and that is the Parsha Rishoina, which is B'chol Ma'idecha. Still in all, even though that's primarily a Mashiach type of experience, but really we have that as well in connection and in preparation for Mashiach's time, especially because of the revelation of Pnimius HaTorah. The level of Pnimius HaTorah allows us and opens up, starting with the Rashbi, the channel for that type of revelation that's going to happen in Mashiach's time, that we get some of it, that type of avodah b'chol meidecha, that avodah mulmayil lamata, and the revelation of Pnimis HaTorah step by step with the Rav Shimon ben Yochai, and that needs to also be joined with the mulmata lamayil. We need to take that level that transcends the level of b'chol meidecha, that is beyond and out of this world, and bring it down into B'chol Avavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, in the Eser Koiches HaNefesh. Like we mentioned yesterday, like what the Rebbe said, Oiris the Toyu B'Kelim Tikkun. And similarly, in Torah, the Rashbi didn't just teach Pnimius HaTorah or have a distinction between the inner part of the Torah and the Nigla part of the Torah, but he impacted and joined and brought the Pnimius HaTorah, the Eitz HaChaim, to impact and be connected with Nigla Torah, with the revealed part of the Torah. And the Rebbe says in a similar vein that in the Eibishter mirrors that avodah as well, and that even though we can find ourselves in the darkness of Golus, we could still have the Hatzlacha of Yidden in such a way that is beyond nature, and all it demands of us is just a small amount of our avodah, like it says in the Ger of Chanina ben Doisa, that he wanted to bring this heavy rock to Yerushalayim to donate to the Beis Hamikdash, and all that was asked of him was to put his pinky to the rock, and then miraculously the Eibishter sent malachim and had it be moved for him. And this happens, and this leads to all the issues with the Goyim should be resolved, and the Goyim will be kicked out of Eretz Yisrael, like the Rebbe mentioned, and so on. and eventually will come to the state of the Schalta, the Gula, and the Gula of Mashiach. So now he's going to continue and wrap this up in our Avodah, and then bring us back to the story Benegeya, this with with Rav Shimon ben Yochai about the need for rain. So again, 7th page of your copies, page Yud Aleph, Eis Vav. And the idea behind this in the avodah of every single yid, which reflects this concept of similar to Reb Chanina ben Doisa, only using his tiny finger, and with that he had this miraculous thing of being able to bring this big rock to Yerushalayim and so on. A person needs to do what's dependent upon him in his service throughout the entire day. In the beginning of a person's service to the Eibishter, and its primary aspect and its root. The Rebbe is quoting the Alter Rebbe in Tanya Perek Mem Aleph, the well-known statements that Kabbalah soil, accepting the yoke of heaven, realizing that we are servants of the King, that's the beginning of all service. That is the core of all service. That's the root of all service. The kosher in Inyan Mesiras Nefesh, the B'chol Meidecha, Parshas showing the Kriya Shema. This is connected also with the self-sacrifice that's to be found in the words B'chol Meidecha that we said before is going out of the box. That instead of being limited in our devotion to Hashem, because of our Kabbalah soil, because of our acceptance of the yoke of heaven, there is nothing that stands in our way, nothing that blocks us from our commitment to the Eibush. Inyan philosophy is mitasi. This is the idea also that we say that a person's davening has to be close to his bed, meaning that before he even sits down to learn Torah, before he does any other avodah, he needs to establish this type of avodah, this Kabbalah soil, this Mesiras Nefesh. And then from that Kabbalah soil, Mesiras Nefesh, it needs to impact everything else, both his other avodas and his worldly pursuit. Mesiras Nefesh zu, this self-sacrifice, the person needs to draw down afterwards in the service of all your heart and all your soul, like we said before, that we need to take it from the beyond the world, the level of Soiviv, the level of the Malmai Lamata, and influence and impact the Malmata Lamata, until we go further in the second parsha of Krishma, top of page base, you shall gather your grain, your wine, and your oil. In other words, that even in the avodah of the mundane matters of the world, not just lavav kol nafshka, even doing my own thing, even b'chol drachechot should be do'eu, chol masechel shem shamayim should be impacted by that avodah of the avodah of b'chol ma'idach. So he says the people shouldn't say madayim b'zman hagolas, since we find ourselves still in the time of golas. The avodah, therefore, throughout the entire day is in such matters of, farming, dealing with the world, making a living, like we mentioned before, that the Rashbi is talking about the Omduzad and Virot Tzeinchem is something that's primarily Mashiach type of existence. This means also in the service throughout the entire day was a reya es amesiras nefesh. He sows and he plants this self-sacrifice. He's playing off the idea that we're talking about produce and wine and grain and so on. But he's saying that mesiras nefesh, that self-sacrifice that he begins with at the beginning of the day, the ava b'chol meidecha, that impacts and he sows it and plants it into the rest of the day. Do a pisgah materis rabbeinu siyenu, like it's known, the phrasing, the expression, and the teaching of Arabim and Nasiim, Sharagoyin, the Mesiras Nefesh, the moments of self-sacrifice, which is what Krishma is about, like we said, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that a person says a level of Echad, that's the level of the limser nafshe be'echad. The person needs to be in the state of self-sacrifice, of saying Echad. But that's not just enough, that at that time, when he says Krishma, he's experiencing that. But rather, Trichim Lamshicham Pashpreiten B'meshach Kol Yom, a person needs to draw them down and spread them out throughout the entire day. In such a manner that this experience of the Mesiras Nefesh should affect all the matters of the entire day. Also, those matters that externally are measured and bounded, that are limited. In other words, should be recognizable in them. That who is doing this? A Jew that is a self-sacrificing Jew, a Mesiras Nefesh. In other words, when a person is doing, like we're saying, he's planting, he's sowing, he's in business, it should be recognizable in him that he's not just doing as a Jew is doing it, but he's doing it not just as a Torah Jew, but a self-sacrificing type of Jew. Then, when a person does his worldly activities in such a way, so then all the matters that's in a way that's measured and bounded are in a totally different manner. Through that, we draw down the bracha of Hashem, it fills with tiny eyes, even the idea of rains that ordinarily a person needs to affect through davening and fasting, like we mentioned at the beginning of the Maimer, that it's in Shulchan Aruch, this is a ruling in Shulchan Aruch, that one, if they're in need of rain, they need to do so through fasting and through davening, which is Psak-Din Shava B'chol Hazmanim. This is a rule in Shulchan Aruch. Since Shulchan Aruch, it's something that applies in all times. So the Rebbe says, but that is only if we limit ourselves. If our avodah is in a way that we're unlimited, that even the worldly matters that we're doing, we are doing things in a Mesiras Nefesh way. So therefore, the Rebbe says, in these generations of Befrat, because the Mashiach, especially during the times of the heels of Mashiach, we affect this through an additional diligence in the study of Torah in general, all Torah, and especially in a way of when one is diligent in the study of the inner part of the Torah, in such a manner that one, again, just like we said before, the Rashbi made a convergence of the two. That the way we're studying the inner part of the Torah is it comes down into the understanding, comprehension of some matters of the revealed part of Torah. Until it comes down to the revealed powers of Chachma, Bina, and Das, of Chabad. So then, when a person breaks out of his boundaries, he causes as well to not be limited by the boundaries of how rain ordinarily comes down. By days of Poilin Gam, through that we affect that also it should be fulfilled where it says, I will give you your rains in their time. The literal rains coming down that ordinarily one would need davening and fasting, but over here through immersion and investing themselves in the study of Torah in such a manner, so that affects the coming of the rains. And rains doesn't have to be just literal rains, but also this descent, this coming down the rains doesn't just mean literally rains, but like the Ramban, the Rebbe says, explains that the rains include all the brachas from Hashem, or like we always bring, the Rebbe says in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, Nasati gishmeichem beitam gishmeichem, for the word gashmis, material and physical thing. So this type of investment in Torah study permeated with the self-sacrifice of B'chol Meidecha, especially in the study of the inner part of the Torah, and even more so the inner part of the Torah, the way it impacts the revealed part of the Torah, brings about the physical manifestation of Hashem's brachas. And that which is drawn down should be out of the calmness and joy and gladness of heart, without all the difficulties and stress and anxiety and pressures that usually are accompanying the needs that we have in the physical world. All this comes about out of the pleasant service of the study of Torah, not like the literal meaning of the chomer bolveinim, using brick and mortar, but rather instead that the brick and mortar is spiritual brick and mortar, kal v'chomer, which is much more pleasant than using physical brick and mortar. And till the Torah becomes one Torah. In other words, the inner part of Torah and the external part of Torah, Chassidus and Nigla, become entirely one. We don't see any differentiation between them. Hashem says, I have, the simple meaning is that I have crushed and I have healed. But the Chassidus explains, Machatzti v'ani erpa means that Machatzti from the word mechitza, separation. And Hashem says, I have made a separation, but I healed the separation. I join them together. I know this means shemesirim is a mechitza sheyeshna eitzel acherim. Hamavdil ben hamavdelis ben gali the Torah pnimis Torah, top of page Yud Gimel, that we remove that separation that others like to put up, that people like to establish and make a separation between Bengali the Torah, between the revealed part of Torah and the inner part of Torah. And I'm not talking about, the Rebbe says a lot of times, people that don't study Primus Torah. There are people that study both. They have, they're very well learned in all parts of the Torah. They learn Pshat, Remez, Drush, Soy, they learn Halacha, and they learn Gemara, and they learn Shutishal Mikra, and they learn Mefarshia Mikra, and they learn Primus Torah also, whether Chassidus or Zoyar or other aspects of Primus Torah. But they view it as two distinct Torahs. There's the inner part of the Torah, and there's the external part of the Torah, and they never meet. They don't see it as being one Torah. They see it as separate Torahs. So the Rebbe always emphasizes that really it's all one Torah, it's Torah Achas. And we nasa limud Achas, and it becomes one study. And that one study that joins the inner part of the Torah with the nigla of the Torah is ba'ofen shemegel demais. It's in such a manner that this whole study that brings to action. Though the action is no way of the measured and bounded, we call Makom still no. It still has that which is higher than any boundaries and any limitations that's manifested. Any questions before we conclude the mind? So the Rebbe asked earlier in the Maimer two questions. One question is, how do we find that there were many Tanoim V'Amaroim that needed fast, different tefillas to be able to affect the rains coming down, and the Rashbi did so through the study of Torah and through the teaching of Torah. And that primarily we answered, but not so much why it was the Rashbi more than anybody else. And another thing is that in Nigla, the Torah brought down the idea of the all the davenings and all the fasting, and those are the stories that's brought down. In Pnimius HaTorah, in the Zohar, it brings down the story that Rav Shimon ben Yochai was able to cause rain to come down through saying Torah. But we see this idea in both of these questions, that there's something about Pnimius HaTorah that allows for or causes or is able to make that rain should come down without the need for the tefillahs and the fasting and so on. So Oy Zion, page 9 of your copies, line 7. It's now much possible Zohar. This is what it says in the Zohar. Did I open it up to questions yet? Anybody have any questions? This is what it says in the Zohar. There was one time, the world needed rain. When explained and talked in the inner parts of the Torah, because his drasha and his explaining of the pasuk was giving the spiritual meaning of that pasuk. Rain came down. So we see from this that Pnimius HaTorah, more than just Torah in general, has this awesome power that makes it unnecessary, if you will, and bypasses the need for the fasts. They limit through the study of the inner part of the Torah, all the time, anytime, when there's a need in the world for Hashem's blessings. And then the Rebbe says, when is there not a need for it? We're always in need of Hashem's brachas. It comes on the blessing of Hashem from his full and open and holy and broad hand, without any measure and boundary. That is the novelty and uniqueness in the way and in the shita of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. Canal, like we said before, though many tried to do like Rav Shimon ben Yochai encouraged or did, that they made Torah be their profession, and they wanted to rely on others to take care of their physical needs, that they shouldn't have to go to work and plow the field, etc., etc. So many were not successful because this is more of a Mashiach type of experience, we said. But on the other hand, we already said Mekolmach, still in all the Achri, after Rav Shimon ben Yochai opened up the channels of the inner part of the Torah. And afterwards, there's the revelation of the Arizal, that the Arizal said it's a mitzvah to reveal this wisdom. Not just he revealed it, but there was actually, he encouraged it. And afterwards, the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov, that over there he was told that by his revelation of Pnimius HaTorah, this will bring about the coming of Mashiach. Until the revelation of the Alter Rebbe and our Rebbeim, our leaders that followed him, until the leader of our generation. So, because of all of that, we have the instruments, we have the tools through the study of Pnimius HaTorah to affect in a similar vein to what the Rashbi did. That with Rashbi, when he said Pnimius HaTorah, he caused brachas to come down, he caused revelations to come down in the physical world. So we are now given that tool as well, to a certain degree. We said it's not going to be in its ultimate way till Mashiach comes. But we as well, especially through a study of Pnimius HaTorah, can also bring down the brachas. Then we're able to bring down the matters of the inner part of the Torah and the revealed part of the Torah in a revealed way. There, and also to draw down the matter of with all your might, in other words, Kabbalah Soil, Mesiras Nefesh, in all the actions throughout the entire day. So not only are we able to join the inner part of the Torah with the revealed part of the Torah, we are also able to take the avodah of davening in its highest most state, the avoid of Mesiras Nefesh and Kabbalah's oil, and cause it to be manifest into the rest of the day, even into our mundane activities. So when we are joining those two, so that type of union therefore causes a further union, the union of Hashem's bracha in the physical world. By days through that we draw down the bracha of Hashem, that all the Yidden will have light in their settlements. Why does it say in their settlements? Meaning, so the Rebbe derives from that what it says by Yetzias Mitzrayim and all their settlements, and we know that the future redemption is going to mimic our present redemption, the redemption from Mitzrayim. And just like Mitzrayim, the Rebbe always says, when was the light for the Yidden and their settlement? It was before they went on Mitzrayim. They didn't get that light only later. They got that light while they were still in Mitzrayim. So this means, wherever Yidden are, whether outside of Eretz Yisrael, whether inside Eretz Yisrael, they'll have a miraculous light totally beyond nature. Like it says, that it describes that this light followed the Yidden around and even shone into the hiding places of the Egyptians. So the Yidden saw where the Egyptians hid their valuables. So later on, when they wanted to borrow from them, they were able to point out to them, I know the second drawer from the right, behind your socks, you have over there this and this valuable item. So the light was obviously not just miraculous in the fact that the Egyptians were in darkness and the Yidden were in light, but it followed them to wherever they were, and they were able to see into places that were completely concealed. So the light that the Yidden receive, even during the time of Golus, is a light that's totally beyond nature. In such a manner that you just have to do a little bit. We're not saying that the Yid is going to have such a revelation that they're going to sit back and nothing else is going to be necessary for them to do. No, they just have to do a little thing, like we gave the example before, the Chanina ben Doisa, that he was told, just put your pinky to the heavy rock. Just a little holding on to the manner of nature. Through that, we draw down the blessing of Hashem beyond the way of nature in the simple, literal sense. In all physical matters, below 10 handbreadths, until and including that we have to have children and making it and life and health and making a living comfortably. And the comfort, again, like the Rebbe always says, goes on all the three. For sure, it will be peace, it will be tranquility, it will be calmness, like, again, the Rebbe was referring to earlier, that the nations of the world will be thrown out of Eretz Yisrael. And the purpose of all that calm is for you that they should be able to be involved in Torah study and fulfilling its mitzvahs out of comfort. And this, the idea that even before Golus is over, Yidden have the calmness and the state of mind where they can go ahead and fulfill and learn Torah, fulfill mitzvahs in a comfortable manner. That itself speeds and rushes the coming of Mashiach that came to speedily. It's the point of that will be fulfilled in actuality, that you will break forth to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. An inheritance without boundaries. That's why it says you will burst forth to all the sides, no limitations. So also what it says in this week's parsha. I will go amongst you, and I will be for you as a God, and you will be for me as a nation. Until the conclusion of the promise, I will lead you upright, in the true and complete redemption. Any questions?